The Mockingjay Without a Heart. Part 2, Gale's Influence. Without Peeta, Gale became the person closest to Katniss. He understood her anger because he carried his own. Gale believed the capital had taken everything from the districts and deserved no mercy. Katniss increasingly agreed. Together, they visited rebel forces and filmed attacks on capital positions. Katniss became an effective soldier. She no longer hesitated before firing. Peeta had once challenged Gale's belief that every capital citizen was an enemy. Without Peeta, there was no one beside Katniss consistently arguing that innocent people existed on both sides. Finnick attempted to fill that role. He told Katniss about capital citizens who had also been threatened by Snow. He reminded her that many people had been raised to believe the districts were dangerous. Katniss dismissed him. They watched the games. So did everyone. They enjoyed them. Some did. Katniss looked toward him. Peeta believed people could be better. Finnick nodded. He did. He was wrong. Finnick studied her for a long time. No. He simply died before he could prove it. The capital's counterattack, President Snow changed his strategy. Without Peeta, he could not broadcast a captured victor begging Katniss to stop the war. Instead, he presented Peeta's family. The Mellark stood beneath Capitol lights while Snow's announcer claimed that Katniss had caused Peeta's death. His mother accused Katniss of leading him into 2 arenas. His father said nothing. At the end of the broadcast, he looked into the camera and placed a small loaf of burned bread on the table. Katniss understood the message. He remembered the day Peeta had fed her. Hours later, the bakery in District 12 was bombed. No one survived. Katniss's grief became rage. She approved increasingly violent attacks. When Gale and BT developed weapons designed to explode twice, Katniss did not question them as strongly as she did in the original story. The first explosion would injure people. The second would kill anyone who came to help. BT disliked the design. Gale defended it. The capital uses our compassion against us. Katniss thought of Finnick trying to save Peeta. Then stop giving them the chance. BT looked at her with concern. That sounds like something Snow would say. Katniss walked away. The death of Finnick. During the invasion of the capital, Katniss led the Star Squad through streets filled with traps. Finnick stayed close to her. He still carried guilt over Peeta's death, although Katniss no longer openly blamed him. When mutations attacked beneath the capital, Finnick was dragged away from the group. In the real story, Katniss activated the self-destruct device that ended his suffering. In this reality, she reached him before the mutts pulled him beneath the water. Finnick was badly injured but alive. Katniss attempted to drag him towards safety. "Leave me," he said. "No. You left everyone else behind." Katniss froze. Finnick gripped her arm. "Do not let Peeta's death become the excuse for everything you do." The mutts approached. Katniss placed an explosive beside Finnick. He understood. "Tell Annie I tried." Katniss activated the device. The explosion destroyed the tunnel. Finnick died. Katniss continued toward Snow's mansion. Another person who had reminded her of Peeta was gone. The bombs. Capital children gathered outside Snow's mansion. Small silver parachutes descended from the sky. The first explosion tore through the crowd. Rebel medics rushed forward. Katniss saw her sister running toward an injured child. Then the second explosion detonated. Prim disappeared in the fire. Katniss awakened days later. Snow had been captured. The capital had fallen. President Coin claimed that Snow ordered the bombing. Snow denied it. He told Katniss that the rebels had used Gale's weapon. In the original story, Katniss recognized that Coin might become another dictator. Peeta's influence, Prim's memory, and everything Katniss had experienced helped her understand that the cycle of revenge had to end. In this reality, Katniss reacted differently. She found Gale. Was it ours? Gale could not answer. Katniss understood. She had known about the weapon. She had not objected. Prim had died because Katniss had begun believing that compassion was a weakness. Peeta had died in the arena. Finnick had died in the tunnels. Prim had died in the war Katniss helped make more ruthless. For the first time, Katniss understood what Peeta's absence had cost. The final games. President Coin gathered the surviving victors. She proposed one final Hunger Games using the children of capital leaders. Johanna voted yes. Enobaria voted yes. BT voted no. Haymitch waited for Katniss. In the original timeline, Katniss voted yes as part of a hidden understanding with Haymitch. She later killed Coin instead of Snow, preventing the new president from continuing the cycle. In this reality, Katniss's vote was genuine. Yes, she said. For Peeta. For Finnick. For Prim. Haymitch stared at her. He voted no. The proposal passed. The final Hunger Games took place 6 months later. 24 capital children entered an arena constructed beneath the ruins of Snow's mansion. Katniss did not attend. She watched only once. A 12-year-old boy hid beneath a table while another child searched for food. The boy reminded Katniss of Peeta. Not the older Peeta from the Quarter Quell. The young baker's son who had burned bread for a starving girl. Katniss turned off the screen. The games continued without her. Coin became president. The new Panem. The capital was defeated, but Panem did not become free. Coin declared that the districts needed several years of military rule before elections could be held. Peacekeepers were replaced by rebel security officers. Capital families lost their homes. Children were punished for the actions of their parents. The arenas remained standing as reminders of what the capital had done. Coin soon discovered that fear was easier than democracy. Katniss had helped destroy Snow. She had also helped create the conditions for another authoritarian government. Gale became a senior military commander. Beatty eventually disappeared after objecting to Coin's surveillance system. Johanna accepted a position overseeing capital prisoners. Haymitch returned to District 12 and refused to speak to Katniss. Katniss lived alone in the victor's village. There was no Peeta planting primroses outside her home. There were no children playing in the meadow. There was no book of memories created together. At night, Katniss held the pearl Peeta had given her. She wondered what he would have said about the final Hunger Games. She already knew. He would have said that punishing children could never honor the dead. He would have reminded her that people were more than the worst things they had done. He would have asked whether destroying the capital mattered if they became another version of it. Peeta had once told Katniss that he wanted to die as himself. Katniss had survived, but somewhere between the force field and the final arena, she had lost herself. The last choice. Several years after the rebellion, another uprising began. This time, it was directed against President Coin. Workers in Districts 3, 7, and 8 refused to produce weapons. Former rebels exposed secret prisons and executions. A young group entered District 12 seeking Katniss. They asked her to become the Mockingjay again. Katniss almost laughed. I already helped one rebellion. We need people to understand what Coin became. Katniss looked at Peeta's pearl. For years, she had told herself that his death had destroyed everything good inside her. That was another lie. Peeta had died, but his choices still existed. The bread still mattered. His kindness still mattered. Katniss could not change the final Hunger Games or bring back the people who had died. She could only decide whether she would continue allowing grief to speak for them. Katniss stood. What do you need me to do? The difference from the original story. In the original Hunger Games story, Finnick saved Peeta after he struck the force field. Peeta survived the Quarter Quell, endured capture and psychological conditioning, and eventually found his way back to Katniss. His survival did not prevent suffering. Prim still died. Finnick still died. Katniss still struggled with trauma, anger, and the desire for revenge. However, Peeta remained a reminder that survival did not have to destroy compassion. He challenged Katniss when hatred became easier than understanding. He helped her recognize that Coin could become another Snow. Most importantly, he gave Katniss a life after the war. In this alternate reality, the rebellion defeated the capital more quickly because Katniss became a more aggressive symbol. She hesitated less, fought harder, and inspired the districts through anger instead of hope. That strength helped win the war. It also created something worse afterward. Without Peeta, Katniss lost the person who repeatedly reminded her what victory was supposed to protect. Peeta was never the strongest fighter. He was not the greatest strategist or the most powerful rebel. His importance came from something the capital never understood. He made people want to remain human. Years later, Katniss helped overthrow Coin's government. This second rebellion created elections and permanently destroyed the remaining arenas. Katniss did not become a national leader. She returned to District 12 and reopened the Mellark Bakery as a community kitchen. Above the door, she placed a simple sign, "Real or not real?" Underneath it, she added the answer, Real. Katniss never married. She never completely forgave herself. But every morning, she baked bread for children who had never seen a Hunger Games. In the original story, Peeta survived and helped Katniss rediscover hope. In this reality, Katniss had to find that hope without him. It took longer. It cost more. And Panem nearly lost its freedom before she finally understood what Peeta had been trying to protect. The capital believed Peeta Mellark was weak because he chose kindness. His death proved the opposite. Without him, the rebellion still won. But for a long time, everyone lost. The end. Now the question belongs to you. Which Hunger Games character or moment should receive the next alternate story? Share your what-if idea in the comments, and it may become the next reality explored on this channel.